Hi everybody, I'm going to be talking to you today about the point slope formula. This is from our graphing chapter, and it's really the last part of graphing that we need to know. So remember that I've asked you to put things on a note card just so it's easier to find when you're working your homework, and I'm going to need you to put this formula on your note card, and that is called the point slope formula. And we're going to use the point slope formula to find equations. So if you're asked to find an equation given certain information, you're going to go to this point slope formula. For example, you see we say write an equation of a line passing through the point -4, 3 and having a slope of -2. Well, remember, I've always labeled my points every time we've had a point. So the -4 is my x, the 3 is my y, slope is -2, and I've told you that m stands for slope, so we're going to put a -2 where we see an m. And so I'm going to put this information into this point slope formula and work it out. So my point is going to go in for my x1, y1. My x right here and my y right here stay an x and a y because I want to end up with an equation that has x's and y's in it. So when I go to plug it in, I'm going to have y minus y1 is a 3 equals m is -2 parentheses x minus x1 is a -4. And be very careful if you have minus numbers. If you have negative numbers, you're going to end up with double negatives in part of the formula. So I'm going to keep going. Y minus 3 equals -2x, because I'm going to do hippity-hoppity distributive property. This I'm going to change my color. This plus becomes plus. You can't see that yellow very well, can you? Let's try red. Plus. That becomes a plus. So when I distribute through the -2, -2 times 4 gives me -8. Now, if you're asked to write it, just to use the formula, sometimes Alex is just fine with you leaving your answer just like this. But I'm going to ask you to solve for y. So in our problems that we have on a test, I'm going to ask you to solve for y. If you're asked to put it in the slope intercept form, then you have to solve for y. So sometimes Alex will let you leave it like this. Sometimes it's going to ask for the slope intercept form. So if it asks for the slope intercept form, we're going to solve for y. And in this case, it's going to be really easy because all I have to do is add that 3 to both sides. So y equals -2x, and a -8 plus 3 would be -5. And there would be my final answer for an equation with the point -4, 3 and a slope of -2. Now, they put this formula in here because remember we put this on our note card. We may need that in the future. It looks kind of close to that actual formula a little bit. It's just not in a fraction form. Let's go down to the bottom of the page and let's try another one. Write an equation of a line passing through -1, 6, -1, -6, and a slope of 4. Now, I didn't do this above, but it asked me to put the answer in slope intercept form and then also in standard form. So I'm going to show you how to put this in standard form as well. I'll do the example over here on the left after I do the second one. Alright, so if I've got -1, -6, that's going to be my x1, y1, and my slope, the 4, is going to be my m. So y minus y1 is a -6 equals m is 4 times x minus a -1, because that's my x1. So again, those double negatives are going to change to plus plus, plus plus, and I'm going to clear my parentheses. So nothing's happening really with y plus 6. I'm going to hippity-hoppity the 4 through here. So I'm going to have 4x plus 4. And if I want to put it in slope-intercept form, I solve for y, so subtract x from both sides. Y equals 4x. 4 minus 6 would be minus 2. So this is slope-intercept. That's your slope-intercept form. If it asks you for standard form, for standard form, you put your x's and y's together on the same side. I don't ask you for standard form a lot, but just in case they ask you in the homework, if I want to change y equals 4x minus 2 to standard form, I would bring the 4x over to the other side, which makes it minus. So y minus 4x equals negative 2. And they like you to write the x part first. So negative 4x plus y equals negative 2. Again, I am not going to ask you for standard form on a test, but you may be asked in homework. So just in case. Over here on the left side, I'm going to go ahead and put this one in standard form. If I did this, see it says to add 2x to both sides. So if I brought the 2x over, that would give me 2x plus y equals 16. That would be standard form for that one. But again, I'm more concerned, I want you putting it in slope-intercept form, the y equals mx plus b. Now let's look at the next page. Okay, now this one is a little bit different because it says, write the equation of the line through the points 2, negative 3, and 5, negative 2. Something is missing that we had in those last two examples that we did. We don't have an m. I'm not given a slope. But if you'll think back, we have a formula, and they even wrote it on the previous page, of how to find the slope. Remember, how to find slope is labeling the points x1, y1, x2, y2. So remember, slope is your y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this particular problem, I'm going to have to find the slope first before I can go and use the point slope formula to get an equation. So if I'm going to put in my y2's y1, so I'm going to have negative 2 minus a minus 3 over 5 minus 2. So that means negative 2 plus 3, so that gives me a positive 1 over 5 minus 2 is 3. So my m is 1/3. So now I'm going to have to go and put this in the point slope formula. In my point slope formula, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And you'll use either one of these points that I labeled at the top for your x1 and y1. Since we already have the first one labeled x1, y1, we can use it. But again, it does not matter. You can pick either one. Whichever one looks easier to you, use that point to plug in this formula. So y minus a minus 3 equals, oh, I'm going to put m, and I have a number for m. I don't need to put an m there. My m is 1/3, and then x minus 2. Alright, so now we are going to have, this is going to change to y plus 3, and we're going to have to do some fraction work, I can tell on this one, and I know that's your favorite thing in the world to do, is to do fraction work, but sometimes it's inevitable. So y plus 3 equals, if I hippity-hoppity, I'm going to have 1/3 x, 1/3 times a negative 2 is minus 2/3. Now, again, sometimes they'll let you leave the answer like this. I like you to put it in slope-intercept form, so we're going to need to subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to have to either pull out your calculator and do that subtraction with the negative 2/3 and negative 3/1, or make some equivalent fractions. So over here on the left side, I'm going to have y equals, I'm going to have 1/3 x. So the common denominator between 2/3 and 3/1 would be 3. So this one stays a negative 2/3. 1 times 3 is 3. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. So negative 2 and a negative 9 gives me negative 11/3. There would be my equation in slope-intercept form. Now, I could show you how to write that in standard form, but it takes a lot since I've got the fractions in there. If you should encounter one on ALEKS where you have some fractions to have to put in standard form, then send it to me and let me help you with that. But I'm not ever going to give you one like that where you have to write it in a form like that. Okay, it looks like this next one is the very same problem. So we don't have to work that same problem again, but there they graphed it for you. I'm not going to have you graph something with a negative 11/3 y-intercept, so you're safe there. Let's look at this next one, because I imagine we're going to have to practice with fractions again, just looking at the example next to it. So again, I'm going to have negative 2, negative 1. I'm going to label it as x1, y1. I'm going to have 3, negative 4, and it's going to be x2, y2. So I need to find the slope first. So y2 is negative 4 minus y1 is negative 1 over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is negative 2. Okay, let me pull up my red so I can do my plus, 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 plus. Excellent. So negative 4 plus 1 would be negative 3. 3 plus 2 is going to be 5. So there's my m. Now I'm going to find the equation by going to point slope. So y minus y1, I'm just going to use the points I already have labeled, would be negative 1 equals negative 3/5 times x minus x1 is negative 2. And we're going to have double negatives again. They're liking these double negatives on us, aren't they? Go ahead and change those. So I'm going to have y plus 1 equals, by hippity-hoppity, I'm going to have negative 3/5 x. Negative 3/5 times a 2, I'll come over here, negative 3/5 times 2 over 1. Can't do any cross canceling, so I'm going to apply straight across. Negative 6 over 5. Then I'm going to need to subtract 1 from both sides to solve for y. It's nice that it's a 1, because then the common denominator is going to be that 5. I only have to change this bottom one. 1 times 5 is 5. Negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. So I have negative 6 and negative 5. So I've got negative 3/5 with my x. And then negative 6/5 minus 5/5 would be negative 11/5. And there's how we can leave our answer. And those aren't too fun to do with fractions. I know they're not. I think on the test I've got it nice where most of them don't come up with fractions. And so I think that you'll be very pleased with that a little bit better. Alright, let me look. We're not really doing parallel and perpendicular, so let me just check through these next pages. Yeah, they're all talking about parallel and perpendicular. So let's go back to this next page, and let me put in one other kind of problem. What if it says find the equation with a slope of 2 and an x-intercept of 5. Now, in this one, they gave me the slope, so this is going to be my m. That step 2, but they gave me the x-intercept. They didn't give me an ordered pair, but you should be able to know how to make an ordered pair out of the 5. Remember, x-intercepts are going to be number, comma, 0. So the x-intercept could be written as 5, 0. And that's my x1, y1. So if I go to my point slope formula, y minus 0 equals, my slope is 2 times x minus 5, because that's my x1. So y minus 0 is just a y, and so I have 2 times x, 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And on this one, it's already in slope-intercept form. I'm good as gold because I don't have to do anything to solve it for y. It's already solved for y. They could do the same thing and say that find an equation with slope of negative 3 and a y-intercept of 8. Okay? Well, remember, y-intercepts are 0 comma the number, so that would be 0, 8. That would be my x1, y1. So then this one would be y minus y1, which is 8, equals slope, which is negative 3, times x minus x1, this time is 0. So that's nice because you're going to have y minus 8 equals negative 3x times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 0 is just 0. I don't have to write that. So then to solve this one for y, I just need to add 8 to both sides. So y equals 3x plus 8. So that kind of made it a little bit easier. You just have to remember how to write your x-intercepts and your y-intercepts. So that would be the final answer on that. So that's how you use the point slope formula to find equations. Be sure you email me or text if you have any questions. Y'all have a wonderful day.